Awesome. Well, first of all, let me say good evening to everybody. My name is Wendy Lovejoy. I'm the marketing director for GaREIA. And before we get started, as always, we thank and appreciate our President Mike Jacobson and our Executive Director Karen Yap because they allow us to spotlight members like William Galloway who are having success and just are a wealth of information that they want to share to our community to make sure that more people are experiencing the same success he is. And I definitely want to give it back to my friend and just a really amazing leader in multi-level marketing and an investor and a business associate at GaREIA, Anissa Reed, who opened up the call for us tonight. So I know everybody's just as excited as I am. I have taken so many notes, and I've gotten so many questions in the past few weeks about the content this young man is sharing. And we had a conversation earlier today, and when he told me the things that he was going to share on tonight's call, I said, I have to get my pen and paper ready because all I want to do is just soak up everything. And I'm hoping that you're hearing him and you're taking action because he didn't get to where he was or where he is and where he's going by not taking action. You got to take action. And I know you don't want to hear from me tonight. You definitely want to hear from this gentleman who's having major success. He's very motivated, has a passion to seeing people succeed, and he has systems and everything in place, and he's sharing what he's done. He's not sharing what somebody else told him to do. He's sharing what he has put in place and how it's been helpful to him. And if you just hang on to his coattails and take every bit of information and implement everything he tells you to do, you're going to have major, major success. So without any further delay, I am so excited to share this call tonight, Wholesaling on a Shoestring Budget, by the person who came up with that training, and his name is William Galloway. William, are you on the call? And the call is yours.
Hey, yes, I am on the call. First off, I want to show my appreciation just for being able to have this opportunity. It's definitely a blessing that I am thankful for. I want to, first of all, thank Mike Jacobson and Karen Yap over to GaREIA for allowing me to be able to speak on the call and just be able to inspire and motivate others. That's my goal, and I'm just glad that I was able to have that opportunity. And also Wendy Lovejoy for, first believing in me about this whole situation and just giving me that opportunity as a marketing director to be able to inspire others and motivate others. So I want to thank you as well for giving me the opportunity, and it's very appreciative. The call tonight, I'm going to be going over kind of like where I left off at from the last call. The last call, well, first let me go back to the first call. This is my third training call, wholesaling real estate on a shoestring budget. The first call was dealing with the mindset of a real estate investor. The second call was based on two different marketing strategies that I use that's on a shoestring budget. And then the third call, I'm going to leave off where I left off from the last call. So just to kind of rewind back to catch people up where I am right now. Mindset, pretty much when I was going over mindset of the first week, I was just basically introducing before you get started in the business, you just want to be able to have the mindset for this business. You want to be able to know that this is the business for you. You just got to know that ain't nothing going to come easy. There's work that has to be involved. There is money that has to be involved because I know I discussed wholesaling on a shoestring budget, but let me be clear with you. Money is going to have to be involved with this business. That's like with any business. Some different marketing strategies that I did speak about cost less than others, and of course my marketing budget may be a little more expensive, but just starting out in the beginning, I spoke about ways that you can start on a shoestring budget, but that doesn't mean shoestring budget meaning no money involved at all. And on top of money being involved, your time and energy and your dedication is going to have to be involved. So the mindset was pretty much basically just speaking on just basically educating yourself in this business, knowing that this is the business for you, reading books, watching videos, training that's going to just, keep you just motivated to want to do this business and even figure out if this is even the business for you. Just constantly just educating yourself. I spoke on Georgia REIA being a great REIA to get involved with. There's so many different ways that you can learn the business. There's so many different training classes that the REIA has to offer that you can get involved with. There's so many different people you can come out and network, to meet, to just befriend and just kind of learn and piggyback off what they're doing and their success. So the mindset, like I said, pretty much was getting your mind prepared for this business mentally and also spiritually. I also spoke on affirmations, how affirmations helped me take it to the next level. When I first started in the business, before I even started doing deals, I had fear. I mean, I was wondering if this business was going to work for me. I was wondering if I was going to be able to have success. And I did a lot of research and studying on affirmations and law of attraction. And I can say that that's what helped me take it to the next level as far as my confidence, because this business is about confidence. It's about momentum. And if without confidence and momentum, it's going to be hard for you to take it to the next level, because there's going to be people telling you you can't do it, or how did you do this, or that's impossible, or you can't sell real estate this way, or that's illegal. You're going to have so many people coming at you telling you what you can't do. So that's why the mindset is so important. And getting back to affirmations is so important, because that's you telling yourself that you can do anything. I went over a couple of affirmations that I spoke about on a daily basis. I'm constantly looking myself in the mirror. I'm telling myself I'm great, I'm prosperous, I'm a great real estate investor, I'm a great husband and father. Just constantly throwing things out. It might not be things that you might believe, but it's things that you want to believe, and you want your mind to believe, because when you keep speaking these affirmations to yourself, I do it morning and night. When I wake up in the morning, I'm looking myself in the mirror. I'm speaking this. Before I go to bed, I'm looking myself in the mirror. I'm speaking these great things about myself. I'm telling myself things. I'm speaking it to existence, even things that haven't maybe transpired yet, but things that I'm already setting goals to be. I'm speaking these things, and I'm making sure that my mind is hearing myself speaking this, because when your mind hears it, your mind start believing it, and that's when things start manifesting. So that's why affirmations was so important in mindset, because I started building confidence, and my mind started making things happen around me. And next thing you know, I was off to doing all the deals that I've done up until this point. Last week's call, after the mindset, last week's call, I pretty much went through 2 different marketing strategies, talking about wholesaling on a shoestring budget. I'm going to kind of go over those same 2 again very quickly, and then this call is pretty much leaving off where I left off, picking up where I left off from on the last call. So the 2 marketing strategies that I went over the last call was yellow letter campaign, and the way we got the leads, I explained how you find your farm area, you do your research, you find out where cash buyers are lurking. You want to go wherever the cash buyers are lurking, because they are the ones who you're going to be marketing your properties to eventually, or they're the ones who's going to be buying your property. So you want to find out if it's your neighborhood, if it's your city or county. You want to find out these cities and zip codes where these cash buyers are buying property at. Once you do your research and find that out, even if it's in your own city or your own zip code, ride the neighborhoods, and you're looking for vacant houses. I explained on the last call where when you're riding through these neighborhoods, you get your map, or if you know the neighborhood's pretty good, you get out and you ride the neighborhood. And don't get out and just set yourself a goal. Don't just get out and just say, oh, I got 20 vacant addresses. I did good for the day. No, set yourself a goal. Set yourself a goal to say, hey, I'm going to get out today and I'm going to get 100 vacant addresses, or how many of you set yourself a goal for. Set yourself a goal and say, this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to get out and I'm going to do 100 vacant. I'm not going to go back home until I get 100 different addresses. So once you get your addresses, and like I said on the last call, you want to get your vacant addresses. You know, a vacant house, most of them are boarded up. The grass is tall, the mailbox full. It just look like it's a vacant house, look like no one lives there. So you want to be able to copy those addresses down. You also want to copy down for rent signs. Like if someone has a for rent, not a real estate for rent, but a for rent by owner or for sale by owner, you want to take those numbers down as well. And I'll explain to you again about that on the next portion of the marketing. So you want to get these vacant addresses. You want to copy them down. Your goal is 100. I'm gonna set your goal for you. Your goal is 100. So you want to write down 100 vacant numbers, 100 vacant leads, as well as you want to write down your for sale by owners and your for rent by owners. You want to write down those numbers as well. And the yellow letter, that is when it's actually what it says it is. It's actually a yellow notebook paper. You can use red ink, that's preferred, or you can use black or blue, but we prefer red ink. And you're going to write out your letter. Hi. You're going to start off with Dear John Doe, if that's the person's name. My name is Will Galloway. My wife, Tammy, and I would love to buy your property at 123 Main Street. Please give me a call to discuss a cash offer. Phone number. Thanks. God bless, if that's what you want to put. Simple. Do not get to putting all this extra stuff on your letters, trying to reinvent the wheel. Make it short, sweet, and simple. People don't got time to be reading, this letter from top to bottom. That's irrelevant. You want to get the point across very, very fast. My name, the property I'm interested in purchasing for cash, give me a call as soon as possible. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's not nothing that's hard. You're just putting down simple words in a simple letter, and you trying to drive them to call you as soon as possible. You don't have to put down your website. All of that is irrelevant. You just want your phone to ring, and if they're interested in selling their property, your phone is going to ring. Also, I want you to set a budget for your marketing. Getting back to the budget part, I want you to set a budget. For instance, for this yellow letter campaign, because what I want to explain to you, I don't want you to get confused like I spoke on earlier. I don't want you to get confused with wholesaling on a shoestring budget, like there's no money that's going to be involved or there's no work effort that's going to have to be put in. Because if you're thinking that this is going to be something free or there's not going to be no work or time committed, then maybe you just need to just get off the call, because I'm speaking about stuff that's going to require hard work, dedication, sleepless nights. It's going to require a budget. It don't have to require a large budget, but it's going to require a budget. Like, for instance, I'm going to give you a budget for this yellow letter campaign. I just wrote it up before I called you. Let's say, for instance, you set yourself a budget, and that's with anything in life. You always want to set yourself a budget. Do not freestyle and just go into stuff, just doing what you want to do. Set yourself a goal to get it done. Set yourself a budget of what you feel that you can invest. And for instance, if I do this yellow letter campaign, my budget, if I'm on a shoestring budget, let's say I'm able to come up with $200 a month. Okay, with $200 a month, that means that would give me $50 a week to spend on my yellow letter campaign. So here's your breakdown. If you do, let's say for instance, if you do stamps are like 50 cents. So let's say, for instance, you do get 80 stamps. That'll be $40. That's at close to 49.50 cents a stamp. So that'll be 80 stamps at $40. And then you want to get your invitational envelopes, because you don't want to put them in regular envelopes. I've tried the regular white standard envelopes. They look like bills. People are not going to open that. You want to use an invitational envelope, because it makes a person feel like, hey, I'm getting invited to somewhere, or a family member sending me a letter, or it just anytime. I mean, that's with anybody. Anytime you see something invitational, it just makes you feel like it's something special. I need to open this up. I need to see who this is sending me a letter. It's more personable. The white ones, the envelopes, I tried them. They were very cheap, and I just tried to get them out of the dollar store, and I didn't get no calls. So it's a difference between envelope. This is a mind thing. When you trying to get somebody to open a letter, you got to think, how would you think? Would you open that letter that just looked like a bill collector? Would you open that letter? I don't think so. So you want to think from a personal standpoint. So if you, getting back to the budget, if you spend 50 cents, let's say on stamps, 80 stamps, that's $40. You can go probably to Walmart, get the invitational envelopes. I believe it's $5. Maybe you'll get, I think, 50 accounts, I believe. And then for another $5, you can go maybe to the dollar store somewhere and get you a couple of yellow pads of paper and a pack of red pens. So you have your $50 budget already with 80 letters being sent out. And of course, you're gonna have to handwrite these letters because right now you can't afford to pay anyone to do it unless you want to cut your budget down and you say, instead of me sending out 80 letters, maybe you can pay a little sister or someone who can kind of write kind of clear. Maybe you want to pay them $10 or $20 to write your letters for you. However way you want to set it, you just want to set yourself a budget, go by that budget, stick to the budget, and do only what you can do. Some people might say on this call, well, I don't have $200. What am I going to do then? Then that's when you got to get creative. If you want it bad, you gotta act like you want it bad. If you don't want it, then you don't need to do this business, point blank, period. And I'm gonna be blunt. I'm gonna be blunt on this call because I want people to understand that this business, it's a lot of money can be made, but it's going to have to be sacrifice. It's going to have to be dedication. All of that's going to have to take place. So if you're a person who's saying, you know what, I don't have $200 to invest, I know that sounds like it's not a lot, but to me it's a lot. I have a family I have to feed. I got bills I got to pay. I can't afford that. So you know what you got to do? You got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you got to do stuff to put you out of your comfort zone because in this business you're going to constantly be put in an uncomfortable situation. I remember, like I said on one of the previous calls, I was in uncomfortable situations at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, putting out signs, up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, writing letters, my hand hurting. I mean, I'm barely able to write the next letter, but I'm still pushing it because I had a set amount of letters I wanted to have done, and I was not going to stop till those letters were done. I wasn't going to say if I had wanted to write 100 letters today, I wasn't going to stop at 70 and say I'll finish the next 30 tomorrow. No, I'm gonna set my goal and I'm gonna fulfill my goal. That's just the way it is. It's a mind thing because if your mind see that you're setting these goals and your mind see that you're accomplishing these goals, then guess what? You feel in your heart that you can almost do anything. And I ain't gonna lie, when I put myself in uncomfortable situations doing things, and as bad as I just wanted to change my mind or something was telling me, not today, or maybe I'll do it later, when I pushed myself and did it, I noticed that the end results was always on my side. It was always favorable. So you always want to just push yourself and always want to know that you're going to get good results if you push yourself to the limit. So back to if you don't have the $200, you got to do what you got to do. Ladies that's on the call, hey, you might have to babysit somebody's children, and you might have to do something on the side. You might have to put in a couple of extra hours and work to get a little overtime. You might have to do what you got to do. Men, you can do more labor than, most women can. So if you have to get out there and cut your neighbor's grass for some money, if you got to get out there and have somebody pay you to put out some signs, or you might have to, even some people might not even want to go work a fast food restaurant or just work somewhere to where they feel like they're going to be embarrassed if they seen, doing something that they don't want to do. You can't worry about that. And you can't worry about what people think. You know that this is only temporary. Everything that you're doing, you're setting a goal to say, okay, if I'm going to try this out for 90 days. 90 days. This is a goal you should set in your mind. You should say, I'm going to try this out for 90 days. And if I set myself a $200 budget month, that's $600 for 90 days. What can you do and what kind of work can you put in to make $600, and that way your $600 is put to the side, and you already have your 3-month budget already for your yellow letter campaign? How bad do you want it? How bad are you going to, what are you going to do to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation to where you got to do what you got to do to make the $600? I'm not talking about nothing illegal. I'm not talking about nothing that's going to put your life in danger. I'm talking about something that you can do, whether it's labor work, doing someone a favor, partnering with another investor, and maybe, he can pay you to do write them some yellow letters or anything. I mean, you just got to get creative. Everybody can find something if they really put their mind to it. Everybody can find something that they can do to make a few ends meet or just make a couple of extra dollars. And you got to do what you got to do. If this is the business you want to do, if you want to be a real estate investor, you have to have some cash reserves. You have to have a budget in place. So that's the budget as far as breaking down the yellow letter campaign. The other campaign, pretty much I explained, was cold calling. That's pretty much not really the money having to be put out, but your time had to be invested into making those calls, and you got to commit yourself to make those calls. And a lot of people don't like cold calling because they're, once again, put in an uncomfortable situation where I don't know what to say. I don't know how to talk to people. So you're still back to an uncomfortable, situation to where you're like, okay, what do I do? What do I say? So at the end of the day, even if you do cold calling, and which that's free to do research, and like I explained on the last call, cold calling consists of for sale by owners. Contacting for sale by owners, like I told you when you were writing for the vacant houses and you write down the vacant addresses, and I also told you to write down the addresses for sale by owners and people who are trying to rent their properties, because what you're going to do is you're going to contact those owners or those landlords, and you're going to try to negotiate a sale with those properties. Or if the person's trying to rent the property, you're trying to find out, hey, are you looking to possibly sell the property? I know you have a for rent sign out there, but I was, wondering, were you interested in maybe selling the property? He may say yes and talk to you about, discuss with you about maybe you purchasing the property. Or guess what? He might not want to sell, but he might end up being a cash buyer who has a lot of rentals in that neighborhood and say, hey, I'm not looking to sell this property, but I am looking to buy more property. So then you find you a cash buyer that maybe when you do get your first deal under contract, now you have someone you can call to maybe be a potential buyer for one of your properties. So that's some ways you can, when you're out in the field getting addresses and getting phone numbers, you can cold call those people. I also explain how you can go on Craigslist and do this exact same thing. You can go on for rent, and you can call all the landlords who are trying to rent their properties out. If the property meets, the great thing about doing it that way, and also for Section8.com, is you're able to look at the property and see if it fits your buying criteria, because you might be in a certain neighborhood or you might be in a certain city that you're targeting. So you'll be able to see pictures of the property. You'll be able to kind of get a visual of what you're getting yourself into before you make that initial call. So the same thing with Craigslist. You go in there and, you also can go on Craigslist. They have the for rent section where you can call landlords who are trying to rent their properties and do the same. Explain to them that, hey, I seen your property for rent. I was just wondering, were you interested in maybe wanting to sell the property? And you'll go through the same conversation in the same way you would be in the Craigslist when they have the for sale. I think that for sale by owner they have on Craigslist as well. For sale by owner, where you have a lot of investors and a lot of homeowners posting their properties for sale. And that's a very tedious way to find deals, but I've actually closed a few deals that way. But it took a lot of time and dedication, because you're not going to go on Craigslist today and find a deal. I was on Craigslist. I had it on my phone. Every other hour I was reminding myself, look on Craigslist, see if it's a new property pop up. Look on Craigslist and see if it's, I was doing this every day, all day. And it can get very, very tedious. And if you're not focused and you're not dedicated, you'll say, man, I haven't seen nothing in a week. There's nothing on Craigslist. Then that day after you quit, then the deal would have been there for you to get, and you quit before you could even see the next deal. So that's very important to have a mindset of, I'm going to do whatever possible to do this deal. All you need to know is, if it can be done, then you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. If Wendy's done it, you can do it. We're no different from y'all. I'm just like you. It's just I've got myself out of the comfort zone. I pushed myself to the limit to do deals, and now that I'm doing deals, now I'm here trying to inspire you to do the same thing. I'm no different from you. You can do this. That's why you got to just stay focused and just have that drive to not want to quit, have that drive to just say, you know what, Will said I could do it. If Will did it, I believe I could do it too. And you can. You just got to have that mentality and that mindset of, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get this deal done. As long as I'm not putting myself in harm's way, as long as I'm not doing nothing illegal, I'm going to do whatever I got to do. I'm not going to quit. I'm all in. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. I'm going to set myself a budget. I'm going to do what I got to do to get my first deal. Getting back to the Craigslist, it's a very tedious thing to do, but it definitely can be done. I've done several deals on Craigslist Like I said earlier, I be on there all day looking at deals, seeing what deal strike my attention, and seeing if I can get in touch with that owner. Most of them be investors posting their properties for sale. Hey, you might be able to speak with him and network with him and maybe help him sell the deal, or maybe you can speak with him about maybe whatever. It's just about networking, period. You got to be speaking to people. You got to be talking to people. And that's what I was talking about earlier when becoming a member at GaREIA, because you're not going to have so many different questions. All these questions that you might have tonight, or the questions that's going through your mind, that's why it's so important to be involved with the family like GaREIA, because you're going to have those different classes that you can attend. They have wholesaling classes. They have deal maker classes. They just had this weekend, they just had a rehabbing class to show you how to walk through properties and show you how to do analysis of the just the contract. When you want to find out how much something's worth, like a kitchen rehab or the flooring or whatever the case may be. They have educational platforms here that can kind of teach you those things, so when you get out in that field, you'll feel comfortable. So you want to keep yourself always out speaking to people, networking, and getting involved with a REIA like GaREIA, so you can be able to educate yourself when it's time for you to start getting active. Also, like I was speaking about, besides Craigslist, you can also go on GoSection8.com. GoSection8.com is also another landlord. The website. Everybody knows what Section 8 is, and a lot of landlords and owners post their properties on there because they're looking for Section 8 people who have the voucher to be able to apply. That's applied for Section 8, who's already approved, and they're looking to rent so they can get that residual through Section 8. So these landlords and these owners are posting their properties on there. Just because they posted their property on there don't mean that they might not be interested in selling. Don't mean that they might not want to buy more property. So you always want to be calling, and these are people that you can call for free. I mean, their number is pretty much on these websites, and you have access to call these people for free. And when you start talking to these people, that's how you start getting comfortable. The more and more people you talk to, that's when you start getting comfortable with yourself and just what you have to say on these conversations when you're talking to people about buying their property. And that's what the call tonight was, basically picking up where I left off at from the mindset that I explained earlier, getting your priorities in order, getting your mind ready, getting yourself educated, learning this business the way you need to, affirmations, building your confidence. Then I gave you 2 marketing platforms. I gave you a $200 a month budget for $50 a week. I gave you the budget. If you don't have the money, like I said earlier, do what you got to do in order to make that money, in order to get that budget so you can get started in this business on a shoestring budget. Now, picking up off from the call from last week, okay, now you've done that. You've sent out your yellow letters, and now your phone is ringing. Now you're saying, okay, now what do I say? Okay, how do I talk to them? I've never talked to nobody about buying a house. I don't know nothing about this. So what do I say to them? I'm going to give you an example. When your phone starts ringing, like I said earlier on the last call, you always want to use a separate number from personal or business. It's always good to get another landline or another cell phone, or preferably if you can't afford either one of those, maybe you get your Google Voice number so you can kind of know that they're calling, and you can be more professional. Like I have a Google Voice number, and I have the app on my phone to where when someone calls in, it's letting me know that this is a Google subscriber calling me, so I'm automatically knowing they're calling about business. It's not, my wife, or it's not my parents or anybody calling. It's someone that's calling about business, so automatically I'm answering the phone. Hey, how may I assist you? This is Will. How may I assist you? I'm already coming with a professional greeting. So they're gonna say, hey, how's it going? I'm doing great. How you doing? I received a letter from you, and I was wondering what was this letter all about. Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank you for giving me a call. What was the reason? I just want to ask you, what made you want to give me a call? Well, I got your letter in the mail, and it said you want to buy my house for cash, and I was just curious about, what you was willing to pay. Okay, well, I'm glad you gave me a call. I really appreciate that. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the property? Okay, well, the property, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and blah, 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 blah. So Okay, well, what's the situation? You gave me a phone call, so evidently you looking. It must be a situation. What is your reason for wanting to sell, sir? May I ask? You notice that already in the conversation. I'm not jumping into the conversation trying to, sound like I'm just a investor guru who trying to steal their property. Automatically in my mind, the first thing I want you to think, build rapport. Build rapport. Off the jump, you don't want to jump right into them asking them all these, questions that's irrelevant. You want to start off with building rapport. Make this person feel comfortable because automatically they're wondering, how did you get their number? How did you get their address? How do you even know I have this house? They're asking all these questions in their mind. They're trying to figure this out. And what you want to always do in any situation, not only just on the phone, you always want to take control. The person who takes control is the person who's going to win. So you always want to take control. And how you take control is you always throw questions back on them and then let them talk. Always throw questions. You notice how when I started the conversation off, I was saying, hey, how's it going? Thanks for giving me a call. What made you decide to give me a call? Well, I got this letter in the mail, and, I seen that you wanted to buy my property for cash, and I was just, wanting to know how much you wanted to pay. Okay, well, I really appreciate you giving me a call. May I ask, what's the situation? What's your reason for wanting to sell? Okay, well, my husband died, and I was just didn't know what to do with the property, and it's just been sitting up vacant, and I don't know what to do with it, and, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, tell me a little bit about the property. You see how I'm constantly putting it back in the ball back in their court. I'm constantly taking control because I don't really want to talk. I want them to talk because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out the motivation. I'm trying to figure out if this person is just calling me just to be nosy. They just want to see what I'm going to offer, and they just want to see, okay, who this is writing me this letter. Or I'm trying to figure out if this person really is a motivated seller and they really need to sell this property. That's what I'm focused on. I'm not focused on anything else but trying to figure that out. And the only way I can figure that out is let them talk. Put the ball back in their court. Ask them questions. If they ask me a question, I answer it very fast, and then I put the ball right back in their court and ask them a question because I want them to give me as much information as possible so I can figure out what's going on, what's the deal with this scenario. I need to figure out, okay, do I have a tire kicker who just nosy, just want to figure out what this letter's about, or do I have a real seller who really, really need to sell, and I'm the man for the job? So that's all I'm trying to figure out. So I'm trying to build rapport with that person. Even if I had to get into a personal conversation, if they start, just talking about one of their loved ones passed, I'm going to give my condolences. And if they talk about, hey, whatever, if they talk about, hey, my brother, he loved it. We used to live in the house a long time ago, and we grew up in the property. Oh, okay. Well, I know how that is when, you grow up in properties and you kind of don't want to let it go. And I've been in that situation too before where, grew up in the house and it was kind of hard for me to let it go. And, you got your feelings tied up in there and you've been living there. I understand, I want that person to kind of relax and feel comfortable. Let them think of me just as another friend, but I'm a friend that's interested in buying their property. I don't want them to think that I'm some hotshot investor that's trying to steal their property from them. So you want to just constantly build rapport. You want that person to feel comfortable. You want to always put the ball back in the court and take control by throwing the question back on them. Now, a lot of them are going to ask these type of questions. You got to be prepared for when they ask you certain questions. You got to know how to respond. You can't be nervous. So some of the questions they're going to ask you, how did you get my information? How did you get my address? How did you know I live in this property? Where does this letter come from? Well, sir, basically my business partner, he pretty much deals with most of the marketing, and some of my buyers we bought property in that certain area in that neighborhood. And we do a lot of research online. A lot of this stuff is public record. So you want to kind of always, anytime somebody asks you a question about something about their personal business, you don't want to take responsibility for nothing. First of all, you don't want to seem like you're a one-man show. Always put it off on my business partner. Always put it off on whoever my partner is. You don't never want to make them feel like it's just all about you, because you want to always put the blame on someone else besides yourself. You're just a person who just basically trying to get information. You're trying to build rapport and get enough information to move forward. You're not a one-man show. It's not all about Will. I'm not, it's not will buy houses, it's big house investors. I'm associated with an investment company. It's not will buy houses. So keep that in mind. You want to always put it off on another partner. So if they ask you how did you get my information, well, my partner, he does a lot of research, and it's public records, and we purchased a lot of property in that area, and we did a analysis of that neighborhood, and we went through court records and got a lot of those property addresses, and we sent out letters to pretty much everybody in the area that fit our buying criteria. You might not have bought no property, but you said my buyer, my partners or my buyer clients, and the people who you're gonna be dealing with may have bought property in that area. You're not lying. You're not saying I bought property in this area. You're basically putting it off on someone else besides yourself. That's the goal, and it's public records. Most of this information is public records, so that's always a way to make a person feel like, okay, well, my information is online. My information, you can go through the tax assessor's website and get my property address or get my name. So that's all that stuff is public records, so that's not nothing to worry about. But always think about putting it off on someone else. Someone else does my marketing, and they handle that, and they pretty much did an analysis of the neighborhood that you're living in, and we did a mailing campaign of that whole neighborhood, and all that stuff is public records. And you get back to the point of, are you interested in selling, and you just skip over that. Another objection they may have is they might throw straight at you. Some people are going to say, hey, I see you said you want to buy my property for cash. How much you going to pay? Then you take control. They're trying to take control. You take control right back, and you say, hey, well, let me tell you how the process goes. Well, pretty much what we do is we go about it the same way an actual appraiser would go about it. Now, we're not licensed appraisers, but what we would do is first of all, we'll do an analysis of this neighborhood. We'll pull out comparable sales. We'll find out what properties in this area are selling for. Then once we kind of get an idea of what cash sales are in the neighborhood within maybe the past 90 days that's compatible to your property within a mile radius, once we find out what the sales are in the area, then at that time we will need to schedule an appointment to come take a look at the property and see what are the repairs that need to be done. What would be the soonest we'll be able to schedule that appointment, sir or ma'am? And then that's when you will want to basically put the ball back into their court, asking them a question, scheduling an appointment, because your goal is you want to be able to get out there to basically view the property, and you've already built rapport on the phone, so you want to take it from the phone to meeting in person so you can put a face with a name, and then you can, then on you can try to move forward with getting the deal under contract. That's your goal, is to build rapport on the phone. So let's back up a little bit. Let's back up. Mindset. You got in your mind right. You educated yourself. You gotten to the point where you got the drive, you got the motivation, you ready to go ahead and get started. You're not going to quit. You're going to do whatever you got to do. You done got your budget. You done hustled up the money to say, hey, I got my $600 budget for my 90 days. I'm ready to go ahead and do the $200 a month, $50 a week campaign, yellow letters, and between time, I'm going to be making my phone calls. I'm going to do my cold calling. I'm ready to get started. I'm doing my affirmations every day. I'm building up my confidence. I'm getting focused. I'm ready to go. Now you done drove the neighborhood. You done got your hundreds and hundreds of vacant house addresses. You done got phone numbers from for sale by owners and for rent people. You done got it started. Now you done got your phone ringing, and now once the phone done got ringing, I just basically broke down a whole conversation with you how you need to, from the beginning to the end, need to build rapport. All you want to do right now is build rapport on the phone, get that person comfortable about talking about the property, get an appointment set up. If that person sounds like they're motivated, then you take it on to an appointment. You'll know, you're a smart person, so you know when you're talking to a person on the phone, you know if they're asking questions, if they're interested in really selling, or if they're just somebody who, pretty much just like I said, want to be nosy. Also, you want to get all of their information. You want to be able to get, of course, their name and their information, their number, their name, and you want to also get their email address, because what you're going to do is you're going to follow up with that person. You're going to follow up with that person, and you want to be able to put their emails in some type of email platform. They have MailChimp. They have Constant Contact. They have Aweber. I suggest maybe MailChimp because it's a free start. You can start off with it being free, and we're on a shoestring budget, so we want to make sure we get everything that's cost efficient. But keep in mind, when you get to a certain amount of subscribers, you eventually maybe have to start paying at a certain point. So you want to be able to get their emails and capture their emails, because you want to start a follow-up campaign as well. You don't want people just calling and you're not following up with them. So following up with them consists of getting their email addresses, and maybe once a month you'll send, if you accumulated, let's say within a month you've accumulated maybe 50 calls. Okay, so those 50 people, you need to have their email addresses, and every 30 days you want to be able to send them an email saying, hey, this is Will. I was just checking on you to see, how are things going with the house. See, have you had any luck selling it yet? I just wanted to let you know I'm still interested in buying. If you're ready, give me a call. You can switch it up. You can send them a free report about, how to sell their house fast, or how to sell their house without using a real estate agent. There's different ebooks you can download online and, send them a free gift or send them something, just basically letting them know that you're still thinking about them and you're still interested in the property. So you always want to, have a follow-up campaign. You don't never want to have leads come in and you're not following up with the leads, because sometimes the money is in the follow-up. And I didn't notice at first because I was always that person that just got leads coming in, and then I just, went on to the next leads or went on to the next mailing list. But I had to come up with a system to where I can have these leads followed up. And how my follow-up system goes is I'm sending them monthly emails, and I'm also sending them a letter or a postcard every month for like 5 or 6 months until they either tell me, stop sending me mail, I don't want to sell my house, take me off your mailing list, or until they just sell me the property. So I'm going to keep, because you got to understand that how somebody's feeling today, they might be feeling differently next week or might be feeling differently next month. You might have sent them a letter today, but guess what? They might have lost their job 2 weeks later, and they in a situation where they really got to sell the property. So you send them a letter or a postcard the month after the one you sent the first time, or send them an email after the first initial call that they wasn't serious or they wasn't interested in selling at that point. But then guess what? You send them an email a month later or a postcard a month later saying, hey, this is Will, I'm still interested. If you haven't sold the property yet, I still would like to speak with you about that. And that person might be in a situation where, last month I wasn't in the position to sell, but guess what? Someone had died in my family, and I need to come up with the extra money. I lost my job. I'm just in a situation to where things have changed and circumstances change. It might not be the second month. It might be the third month. It might be the fourth month. Circumstances change on a daily basis, so you just always got to know that these leads coming in are like gold. You pay for these leads, so why get the lead, and if they're not interested at that time, why throw it away and move on to the next list? That list can be vital 6 months on down the line. I told you about my first deal. My first deal came from me sending out a mail campaign, and the seller then called me to, I believe, 6 to 8 months later, and they end up owning 2 properties that I wholesaled and made $11,000 on my first wholesale deal, actually 2 in 1, and I made $11,000 all because it was a follow-up campaign. The people, they basically got back in touch with me 6 to 8 months later and was asking me, they said, hey, we got a couple of your postcards over the few months, and we was wondering, were you still interested in these properties? Because at first when I sent them, they wasn't thinking about selling. But guess what? I kept following up with them, and over time, circumstances changed, and it turned into my first $11,000 two-for-one deal. So that's why follow-up is so important. So once you speak with them, and then you get to the point where you're ready to schedule an appointment, because in the beginning, you want to be able to, you want to be able to go observe the property. You want to be able to learn how to evaluate properties. And that's another one of those things where I won't be able to touch it on the call tonight, but you want to be able to educate yourself on what you're looking for. Do your research on what properties are selling for. And the best way you could do that is, I always want to tell you, always keep in mind, in this business, you're going to eventually, there's no way around it. Some people have had success without getting a coach or without finding a mentor, but it's going to come a time where you're going to need one, because you're going to be able to cut so many different corners and save time. You're going to be able to save so much time and wasted money and wasted energy if you could just hire you a coach. And some coaches, and a lot of people think when you're talking about hiring a coach or hiring a mentor, you're thinking about spending thousands and thousands of dollars. And that's the case with certain people. Now, there are expensive gurus out there that's charging thousands and thousands of dollars to mentor or coach them, and that is true. But then you have, some people who might not charge as much. So what you want to do is, when you want to go out to that property, you want to be able to try to find someone who, has a little bit more knowledge than you, or somebody who, has a little more, they've been in the game a little longer, and they can basically walk you through how to do maybe your first couple of deals. And the best way to find great people, of course, is coming back to the Georgia REIA. When you go back to the Georgia REIA, you want to get out of your comfort zone. You want to come and meet people. You want to find out who's doing deals, who's serious, who's really out here doing what they say they're doing. Who you want to get involved with. There's so many great people at the Georgia REIA. There's so many different organizations. You can come to the general meeting every first Monday. You can come to deal makers. You can come to the wholesaling class Robert has. There's so many different classes that you can attend and get involved with Georgia REIA, and you can partner up with people. And there's people who will coach you for, maybe a few $100s a month, or, maybe y'all can split a deal together, or whatever the case may be. Or sometimes you might have to even intern for some of these guys and say, you know what, I'm going to let you know, honestly, I don't really have the money like that. I have the drive. I have the ambition. I'm not going to quit. I'm ready to get started, but I just need somebody that can help me. Maybe you can put in the work and intern for someone for free, and then maybe you can get something out of that, which is your education, which is, building your confidence up with somebody who can kind of show you how to get it done. And that's comes back to the part of giving. Everybody wants to receive. Everybody wants stuff for free. Everybody want everything without having to put in the work, and it's not going to happen like that. It's going to be times where you have to give. That's just like this call tonight. I'm passionate about this call because I'm giving back not only to my community and giving back to Georgia REIA, but I'm doing what God put me on this earth to do. He motivated me to be not only a successful real estate investor, but also inspire others to be able to do what I'm doing and let them know that don't be scared, don't be in fear. You can do this business too. You can do it, but you got to educate yourself. It is work that is involved. You are going to have to set yourself budgets and set yourself goals to be able to get accomplished. There's things that's going to have to transpire in order for you to gain success, but it can be done. It's all about how bad do you want it. That's pretty much boiled down to how bad do you want it. So you might have to intern for someone at the Georgia REIA. You might have to intern for, a well-known wholesaler or a well-known real estate investor in your area that you're familiar with. You might have to get that person a call and say, hey, I was just wondering, can I take you out for lunch and, pick your brain a little bit? Or, hey, can I come do some work for you at your office? Or can I, maybe go to your properties and take some pictures for you? And maybe, whatever you got to do, you got to get creative. Find that person who you can partner with and who can help walk you through, when you get that first deal and you set that first appointment, you don't want to go by yourself because you might be scared and don't know what to say or don't know how to evaluate the property. And that's why I say you need to find someone who you can either have coach you, mentor you, or you might have to, if you don't have the money to do either one of those, like I said, you're going to have to put in the work and intern, or you're going to have to put in the work to maybe partner with a seasoned investor. A great person to network and speak with at the Georgia REIA is Wendy. Wendy's on the call tonight. I didn't mean to put her on the spot, but, she's a great person to communicate. She's a people's person. She loves helping people. She loves speaking with people. She's so motivated by just people growing. Even when I speak to her, when I first met Wendy, she motivated me to even feel that I'm bigger than what I even felt like I was. She made me feel like, hey, you can do this on a higher level than what you're doing it at. And she'll do you the same way. She'll put you, with a great person that you can partner with, or, point you in the right direction and, show you the people that, you may need to speak to, or, give you recommendations or who preferred coaches within the Georgia REIA, because you just don't want to just partner with anybody. So you want to be able to speak with someone who has authority, someone like her. She's the marketing director, so she pretty much knows pretty much the people that she could point you in the right direction on, who you need to partner with or who you need to speak with, or the preferred coaches or mentor that you may need to partner with. So pretty much that's it. It's now it's all about you. It's all about, are you going to put in the work after this call? Are you going to put in the work? Are you going to get your budget? Are you going to set yourself a goal for the next 90 days to set yourself a $200 a month budget to get your mail campaign out, to get ready to talk on the phone, to get out to the Georgia REIA, start coming to the general meetings, start coming to all the different, they have classes almost every day, so there's no excuses. I mean, if you look on the calendar, there's a class almost every day, so you got to get involved. You got to get out and network. Find out how to appropriately make business cards. You want to be able to make business cards the right way. Get some business cards made out. Come out and pass your business cards out. Meet people. You got to get out and get active. That's the only way you're going to succeed in this business. So that's wholesaling on a shoestring budget, from mindset to the wholesaling on a shoestring budget marketing campaigns that's least cost efficient, and getting on the call, building rapport with the seller, and just basically getting to the point where you schedule the appointment, and then you partner it up with someone who can actually, if you don't want to partner with nobody, the only other thing I can suggest is continue to educate yourself, continue to research, watch videos on negotiation. I read a lot of books on negotiation. There's so many books on negotiating, how to talk to people. There's books on how to build rapport. You basically just want to get comfortable enough to be able to speak with people, because this is a sales business. You got to be a salesman. You got to be able to get this person to sign this contract in order to be able to get that sale. So you got to be able to educate yourself and read these books on negotiation and building rapport and how to talk to people and watch videos. There's tons of books. There's tons of videos. There's absolutely no excuse for not being able to take action and move forward and having success.
Wow, William. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
That was amazing. I just feel like the time went by so fast. We got to get you back to do another series, because you are a wealth of information, and everything that you shared is just so, you brought it down to the very basics, so anybody can use everything you said and have some success. And I'm blown away by your passion, because, you could have kept all this to yourself and just kept wholesaling and having your success, but you definitely have a passion to see people grow also and succeed. So I'm really, really excited. And at this point, I know there's people with questions. And as Anissa is unmuting us, I know some people want to continue to follow you and just connect with you. I know you do come out to a lot of the events, but if somebody just wants to continue following you, how would they do that?
There's several ways you can follow me. First off, you can like my business fan page on Facebook. You can search for Big House Investors. You may see my personal page that says Will Galloway. I'm not talking about my personal page. This is business. So my Facebook fan page is search Big House Investors. It has a yellow background with my company logo, Big House Investors, and also is a picture of me with a suit on. So you'll know that you're on the right page. You definitely want to like that business page, because I'm going to start having a video series on wholesaling and more strategies on the shoestring budget, and I'm going to be giving more content on this Facebook page. So you definitely want to like my Facebook fan page on the Big House Investors, and you'll see the yellow background with my company logo and a picture of me with a suit on. You also can, if you like videos, you also can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Once you go to the subscribe section or find channels, you can put in, search for Will Galloway, WILL Galloway, / Uncle Bill Buy Houses. And pretty much you'll find my YouTube channel that way. And pretty much at the Georgia REIA, I'm at the general meetings, at deal makers, I'm at some of Robert's wholesaling classes. Just come to the Georgia REIA, and besides my social media and LinkedIn as well, besides the social media platform, just come to Georgia REIA and meet me.
Wow, I know I've spent some time on your videos, and it's amazing to me the amount of testimonials you have of the people that you've helped in the past. So we can't thank you enough. I definitely believe people have questions on this call tonight. So, Anissa, were you able to unmute us?
And as far as the questions again, I know last week we had questions, people talking. If you would, please just mute your phone so we can hear the question clearly, and I can answer the question so everyone can hear it. So if you have a question, I want to answer as many as possible, but I want everybody to be able to hear the question, and I want to be able to answer it so everybody can hear the answer. So if you would please, if you're not the one answering the question, just mute your phone so we can kind of know what the question is about. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. And I know we're unmuted now, so does anybody have a question on any of the information you heard tonight that William Galloway shared?
Yes, my name is Lisa, and I have a question. The question is, where do you find the attorneys for the closing? Because I know that a lot of attorneys are not familiar with the closings, and I know that they're not just straight closing like a regular mortgage property or something like that. So how do I go about doing that?
Hey, how you doing, Lisa? You doing okay?
Fine.
Okay. Well, to answer that question, that's an easy answer. The Georgia REIA, if you come to our website, I believe we have preferred vendors who we prefer that are investor-friendly attorneys. I believe don't they have a part on there, Wendy, where they have suggested attorneys? And I know they have for like contractors and stuff like that, but don't they have it for attorneys as well?
Actually, if you are interested in knowing the attorneys that a lot of people use, there's people like Mike Florence. I don't want to just give away some names. Are you a member of Georgia REIA? Lisa?
Oh, no, not at this time.
Okay, so I would encourage you to just come out. You're welcome to come out as a guest and just see the information that we have. We have a wall of what we call Georgia REIA's business associates, and you definitely can get any information on that and a few numbers, because we have a few attorneys that people have been using over the years, including myself, that understand how to do these type of closings. So, but we're going to be spotlighting some on the blog, the georgiareia.org/blog, as William just shared. But again, come out as a guest. The office is located on Tilly Mill Road in 285. Very friendly people. You could look right on the wall as soon as you come into the office, and there's a wealth of information on that wall.
Thank you so much.
That's why we always tell you.
Thank
And that's
you.
why we always tell you to come back to the REIA, because pretty much every answer that you need or whatever you need, even if you don't find the attorney you're looking for on the wall, that's why it's always important even to come out and meet people and network, because the people that are doing deals, that's where actually I found that one of the attorneys that I use, I found it from coming to the wholesale class and talking to the wholesalers that was in the class that were doing a lot of deals. And I said, hey, what attorney do you use? And they were very friendly, and they gave me the attorney, and I've done pretty much majority of all my deals with this particular attorney. So it's just about, like I said, coming out to the meetings, meeting people, finding out who's doing deals, finding out who's serious, and talk to them and ask them what attorney are they using, or ask them, find out from the blog on the Georgia REIA's website.
So thank you. That was a great question, Lisa. Thank you so much. And is there anybody else with a question tonight for William?
Yes, I've got a question.
How you doing?
Please ask it.
Yes, I've got a question. My name is Bill. I'm from Jonesboro. In fact, I spoke with you, Will, on the 9th of this month. I have a question regarding contracts. I have not done a deal yet, but I have a 2-page contract for the buyer's side. And I'm concerned as to whether I can use that contract for the sale side, and if not, are there contracts available that you can give me some information on?
Yeah, that's another thing. I can answer it in different kind of ways. Of course, always pointing back to Georgia REIA, because there's always going to be different ways that you can get contract templates. You can also like my like I said, my Facebook fan page. I'm going to be starting a video series on just wholesaling from A to Z, wholesaling on the shoestring budget, and I'm going to be giving out a lot of content. And one of the things me and Wendy talked about was contracts. A lot of people need contracts. So once you like the page and just follow me, Big House Investors, you'll be able to, I'll be able to put that out real soon. And you definitely want to just make sure you have the right contract, because there are different contracts that you can use for the buyers and different ones for the sellers. The seller, the one that you have for the motivated seller, is going to have a contingency clause within it to be able to have you be able to get out of the property if you're not able to sell the property. So that's very important. And then most of the ones that we use for the buyers it doesn't have that same contingency in it because you're not wanting them to be able to get out of the deal. You're selling them the property as is. So even if you have a whole lot of contracts you've been looking at, make sure it's very important that you see which one had the contingencies that will protect you. And then if you're trying to have a contract for your buyer, you want to make sure that you don't give them no contingencies. Pretty much you want to sell it as is. You want earnest money. You want to be able to put all those clauses in there that's going to protect you and not protect them. So you just want to make sure whatever contract you have, I don't know if you have some, just make sure with the sellers, you want to have your contingency clause in there for you to be able to get out of the contract if you have to. And for your buyers, they don't get no contingency. It's as is. You're buying the properties as is, and you want to be able to come up with whatever type of earnest money that you have for the contract. And like I said, just follow me on Facebook, and I'll be able to soon have some of the contracts that I use. I'll be able to put them out there.
So did that answer your question, Bill?
Yeah, that helped me quite a bit. I'll follow him on Facebook. And
Awesome. And just to ask, are you a member of GaREIA?
No, I'm not at this moment, but I will. I will be.
Yes, please come out, get to know the community. I can't tell you enough. You heard William, and I say the same thing. It's an amazing community of people that are very, very giving and experienced, successful investors. Some people, they've been doing this 20 plus years, and they've watched the market do very well and go bad and come back again, and they just stuck it out, so they know all the ins and outs. And of course, people like William, he's going to share with you the kind of contracts he's used, so they work because he's closing deals by using them. So please take his advice. And we'll go ahead, and anybody else with a question for William? Because I know during this week I got a lot of people asking me questions, and I said, come on the call and ask William yourself. So please feel free to ask whatever question. It'll help somebody else as well.
Hey, William.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, my name is Demetrius. I really have two questions.
Okay.
My first question is, when closing a deal, do you use hard money lenders or do you use the buyer's money? And my second question is, how long does it take for the seller to move out the home?
Okay. First question was, when I'm closing the deal with the buyer, do I use hard money or do I use their money? Is that what you asked me?
Correct.
I don't use hard money. Hard money is more for if you're doing a rehab project. That's more if you're trying to get a hard money lender to loan you the money to be able to loan you the money to be able to do the rehab project. So that's not dealing with actually wholesaling. That's more of like when you're trying to rehab something and you don't have all the money to come up with to rehab that project. So you need a hard money loan or someone with that has hard money to be able to loan you that money, and they're going to have interest on top of the loan, and that's not dealing with wholesaling. But as far as wholesaling, as far as the other side, you said, do I use the buyer's money? Yes, that's what wholesaling is. You're not using your own money. You're using the buyer's money. So there's two ways you can do a wholesale deal. You can either and a lot of times, and when I say use the buyer's money, it depends on the attorney. Some attorneys will allow you to do a double closing or simultaneous closing with the buyer's money. Well, sometimes you might have to have transactional funding, and a lot of attorneys have required you to have transactional funding. So, say for instance, for example, if the property is $30,000, you have it under contract with the seller for $30,000, and then you want to, your buyer is going to give you $40,000 for it. A lot of times they'll want you to have transactional funding to be able, because there's going to be two different closings. So a lot of them, attorneys want you to have transactional funding to where you got to come up with the $30,000, and then the buyer you'll close with the seller with the $30,000 with the transactional funding that you get. And a lot of companies charge like $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 for transactional funding. As long as you have a buyer in place, they'll fund the money, but they'll charge you points or they'll charge you a certain fee to use their money. And you'll close with that $30,000 plus whatever the closing cost is with the buyer for the $30,000, and then you'll turn around and then the next closing with the seller on the first close. Then a second closing with the buyer. they'll wire in the $40,000 to close, and then you'll get the $10,000 minus whatever closing costs and expenses that you had to pay for transactional funding. If you have to use transactional funding, some attorneys require transactional funding, and some attorneys will let you use the buyer money. Once the buyer wire in the $40,000, they'll let you close with that money for the first transaction with the seller and the second one with the buyer. The only other way you can close is using the buyer's money is an assignment of contract, which is the same scenario. If you had the property under contract with the seller for $30,000 and your buyer and you agree on $40,000, what you would do is you'll assign your rights of your contract that you have with the seller for $30,000. You will assign it over for a fee, and that fee is $10,000 because you and him agreed on $40,000 and you and the seller agreed on $30,000. So you'll basically be assigning your rights of the contract you have with the seller with a one-page assignable contract. You'll be assigning your rights of that contract over to your buyer for that $10,000 fee because you and him agreed on $40,000. If that makes sense to you. So you basically be assigning it over, and you're still using his money. You're still not coming to the closing with no money. So that's the only way you can come to the closing with no money, if you're assigning your contract that you have over to your buyer for a fee, or if that attorney allows you to use the buyer's money on two separate closings. So that's the only way you can come without no money. Did that answer your question?
Yes, plenty.
Okay.
Great questions tonight. Anybody else with another question?
Yes, this is Ted. Can you hear me?
Yes,
going on,
I can
Ted?
hear you, Ted.
Yes, my question is, what do you do? I know we've talked about closing attorney, but I've also been told from things I have read over the years that you can also bypass that by using title companies to run the title, and some of the title companies will do both the double closing and the assignment of contract to avoid having to pay huge money to, would you recommend that, using title companies to avoid paying a whole lot to
the title company,
the closing attorneys?
Yeah, the title company, I mean, you can use a title company or attorney. I think it kind of varies by state because some states, they use only title companies. Some states only use attorneys. Like Atlanta is more of a attorney type of state. Like if you go to Florida, a lot of investors that do a lot of deals in Florida that I talk to, they just a title company type of state. So it doesn't matter. I mean, whichever one can get the title pulled, whether it's a title company or whether it's an attorney. I mean, the price varies. It doesn't really, you can do your research and find out, which one would be less cost efficient for you, whether using an attorney or a title company. There's not a right or wrong with that, with either one of them, because the purpose is just getting the job done, getting clear title to be able to move forward up with the closing. So I wouldn't really suggest either one, but I do know as far as Atlanta, you're going to find more attorneys than you will title companies. And like I said, if you're using a state like Florida or some other states, they mainly use only title companies. So it kind of depends on kind of the area and the state you're in, what most people are using. But pretty much either one would be good as long as you can get the deal done. Either one will work.
Okay. And I have a second question, too, if it's okay. This is Ted.
Okay, go ahead.
My second question is, I know this, the process moves very fast, and, but when you're in the market where, it's a whole lot of abandoned homes, for instance, like in some parts of Atlanta, where it's just tons of them, are you better off in an area where only has maybe one or two in like a 4 to 6 block area as compared to where you're in an area where it's like 10, 20 of them and within the same 10, 20 blocks area? What would be your best suggestion?
That's a great question. I tend to like stay away from, and that's why it's so important, like I said earlier, to do your research. Find out where cash buyers are lurking, where they're investing at, what areas are properties selling in, because I'm pretty sure if it's an area that majority of the street is abandoned houses, then that must be a area that's, maybe a war zone or an area where investors are not spending their money at, and you don't want to invest into those areas. And that's like certain areas, in Atlanta, I rode the neighborhoods and the whole street was vacant, or the next block over the whole street was vacant. So that automatically lets me know that that's not an area that I want to invest in, because if I just got to look at it like, if nobody's came in here and cleaned up this neighborhood yet, then maybe it's not the time yet. Not to say in the future it might not get rebuilt, but I'm thinking right now, if this is a neighborhood with 50% or 30 or 40% of the houses is vacant, I mean, I'm not going to want to, do no business in that area. Not to say I couldn't do a deal in that area. That's not to say anybody's not buying in that area, but I want to be somewhere where the majority is raising their hand and say, hey, I want to be over here, not over there. So that's not to say you couldn't do a deal in that same neighborhood, but I wouldn't want to invest no time and energy in a neighborhood where most of the houses are vacant, because that's a sign of people are not yet rebuilding in that area. And if you don't see if you see them abandoned and you don't see nobody over there doing no work, or nobody rebuilding the houses or rehabbing the houses or anything like that, because you can't have some neighborhoods where it's a lot of vacant properties and you see people are rebuilding because people are starting to back buying houses, people starting back rehabbing, and people starting back investing money into these houses. But if this is the case where you're not seeing no activity, then that may be a sign that that's an area that you don't want to invest in. And like you said, go to those areas where, I'm not saying the whole street is vacant, but if it's 2 or 3 houses vacant, that's fine, or maybe even 5, that's fine. But if half of the street or the whole neighborhood or 40 to 50% of the neighborhood is vacant, then that's probably going to be an area where it's a war zone, and you definitely don't want to invest into that area. The guy Demetrius who I answered the call from earlier, the guy Demetrius, I think did he ask me 2 questions? Did I answer the second question for him?
Just to mention, the second question was, how long does it take for the seller to move out?
Oh, how long does it take? I knew you had another question. I'm sorry. You said, how long does it take for the seller to move out? Well, you somebody there is trying to sell you the house and they live in the house, and how long does it take for them to move out? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
That varies. Everybody have different situations. You just never know what you're getting yourself into. I deal with a lot of short sales, so I got people who facing foreclosure that I'm doing deals with, and they got to move out of their property when the bank approved the loan. So some people, it takes time for them to find somewhere else. You got to think these people have been living in this house for years and years, so they might be getting foreclosed and might have to be out in a certain amount of time. Or some people might not be getting foreclosed, and they might just want to sell, but they want to sell and be able to use that money to be able to get something else. So every situation is different. Once you get to talking to that seller and finding out what's the situation, and you definitely want to let them know that you want to put the pressure on them and let them know that you can't move forward with the deal unless they're completely out of the house. I had that issue a lot of times recently on a couple of closes I've been doing lately, where the seller wants to close on the deal and then ask me, can they have a couple more days to stay in the property? And I say no, because that's an insurance liability, because my buyers, or some properties that my company purchases as well, we can't afford to purchase a property, or my buyers can't afford to purchase a property and you're still living in it, because guess what? If we buy the property today and then you got 3-4 more days to be in it before you leave, and then your son get hurt or you fall and trip or something like that, then we got to have insurance in place, or that falls back on us. That liability is on us, because you're still in the property that we own, and that person can come back after you for, and try to sue or anything, because they don't own the property no more. You're the owner now, or your buyer's the owner now. So it's very important to just communicate with your seller and let them know that, hey, find out what their situation is, find out how much time they need, but you also want to let them know that this deal is contingent upon you being out of the property. So don't think that we could close and then you got a couple more days to be in there. This deal is contingent, and that'll be in your contract. This deal is contingent upon you being out of the deal. So when we come to closing, you need to be handing me the keys to an empty house.
Okay.
Great questions. Anybody else?
Yes, this is Ted with 2 last questions, and this is pertaining to the email. I know you talked about it, constant contact as, I guess, a subscription email. But what was the other one that you said was free? And I'm sorry, I didn't catch when you were saying it.
It's called MailChimp, MAIL, mail, like the mail you deliver, and chimp, like a chimpanzee chimp, CHIMP,
okay.
MailChimp.
Okay, and that's like the free one.
Yeah, most of them are free, but a lot of them, like Constant Contact, iContact, AWeber, a lot of them give you like a 30-day free trial, and then they'll start charging like $10-15 a month. But MailChimp, I believe, is the only one that is free all the time until I think you get a certain amount of subscribers. And when you want to start doing more things with the emails, then they'll start charging you. Like if you want to start doing like autoresponders and all that type of stuff, that's when they start charging you. But for right now, MailChimp would be good because it's free. You can just upload the emails straight to your database, and then you can start your follow-up campaign monthly, like I explained earlier.
Okay.
And
then the very last
Will,
thing,
you're correct. Will was correct in that. And the other great thing about MailChimp, it is free, but it has a wide variety of templates that you can use to send out, your email campaigns.
Oh, okay. Well, and the last thing I want to ask was, when you're doing like, when you've gone to the courthouse, or to the tax assessor's office, and you've got information on the property. For instance, it was a property I was looking at one time, and I went to the courthouse, found out that actually this was inside a trust, and the trust people wouldn't give me the information to who actually owned that trust, so I couldn't really ever navigate to find out who actually owned the property that was placed in the trust. But my question though is, some of the sites they advertise that they've got free people search, and then when you get down to it, then they ask you, well, is $24.99 or $15.99? Is there a real site that you know of that's totally free without having to pay anything while doing a people search or property search?
Like I was talking about earlier, you just got to always keep in mind that nothing's going to be free. There's always going to have to be a cost involved. The only other thing that I can say that is free, that would be your best result, is just the property appraiser's website. I mean, whatever your county is, whether it's DeKalb or Clayton or Fulton or Gwinnett or whatever your county is, that's public records. I mean, once you have the property address, and I talked about that on the last call, once you have the property address, you go to your property appraiser's website. So you'll Google, if you're in Cobb County, you'll Google Cobb County property records. And when you Google Cobb County property records, the first website to pop up is normally their tax assessor's website. So there's a section in there to where you can go to property search, and you just put in whatever that property address is, and it'll pull up the history of that property, who owns the property, when they bought it, who bought it before them. It'll show the whole history, and it normally shows up in the top left-hand corner or right-hand corner. It'll show you who's the owner on title, and then it'll show you whatever the current address is. And that's the only free way, but every other way is pretty much going to be a cost involved. But, I mean, the tax assessor's website is pretty much the free and best way. I mean, I still use it in my company. I mean, I have my assistant, skip tracing through it every day. So that's the free way, but, you can skip trace and pay companies or go to 411, and maybe 411 sometimes have information where you can, 411.com, you can get sometimes the addresses, and sometimes you even get a phone number on 411.com. So that's another free way. But even with them, when you want to start getting more details, they'll ask you to start paying. But that's another one, 411.com, besides the property appraiser's website.
Okay.
Good questions tonight. Good questions.
Yeah, very, very good questions. And we'll take a couple more. If there's anybody else who has a question for William Galloway tonight.
Hey, I have one more. In the contract, how many days do you they got a contract for? Like, for instance, let's say the buyer says, I'm ready to sell. You made a contract out for 3 days for the buyer to sell it, or 30 days? Like, how long is the contract on average?
For the buyer or the seller, which one are you speaking about?
Well, both, really.
Since when you're just starting out, you want to give yourself as much time as that seller will give you. I normally tell my sellers, even though I know I can get it done sooner than 30 days, I always tell them put on the contract 30 business days. 30 business days mean, actually in writing, it means like 45 days, because business days is only the weekdays, not the weekends. So I always put that standard on my contracts. Normally they don't say anything, but if somebody do say, hey, 30 days, that's a long time, and you just say, hey, that's just standard. Right before it says 30 days, it says on or before. So I make sure I highlight that part and show them that on or before 30 days, meaning like standard is 30 days because you got to understand that if we run into any liens or judgments or inspection problems, because I'm going to have to send an inspector out there to come take a look at the property, it can take time. So we don't want to set no date and then we have to end up redrawing a whole nother contract. So 30 days is pretty standard that I will put on all my contracts, 30 business days, because I've had times where I promised somebody that I'd get it done in 10, 15 days, and I got the deal done, but it took me so much to get it done because I think I ended up having to use my own money because my buyer wasn't ready when I was ready for him, and, I had to end up using my own money. But you want to be in a position to be able to have as much time. If that seller give you 60 days or 45 days, whatever the most time they'll give you, that they allow you, you want to put the most time for your seller. Now, when you're speaking about your buyer, he don't need no time because he's a cash buyer. If he's a cash buyer, he's supposed to be ready to close when the title is clear. And normally, when you give your contract, once you got your seller in place with your contract, then you got your buyer that you agreed on the price with, and you get the buyer contract and you got the seller contract, and then you send it off to the title company or the attorney that you use. Most of the time, it takes an attorney anywhere from 3 to 5 days. I say no more than 7 days. I say normally between 3 to 5 days for them to run title, get clear title back. So with the buyer contract, I would pretty much get them no more than 10 days, because if they got cash and if they're a serious cash buyer, they supposed to be ready to close when their attorney say, hey, the title's clear, we ready to close. It don't supposed to be no excuses, because other than that, it may be another investor, and that's very important. You want to make sure you're dealing with serious buyers, and you want to make sure you get earnest money, because sometimes you'll have another wholesaler or another investor trying to put your deal on the contract so they can try to sell it to another investor, and then you wasting time on your contract, and then they end up not being able to sell the property, and then you end up wasting half of your contract time with this tire kicker person who's trying to sell your property. So to alleviate that whole situation, always get upfront non-refundable earnest money, and make sure the contract says from the buyer that whether you're going to take $1,000 or $2,000, whatever it is, it's non-refundable, except if we can't convey clear title. So the only way they can get their money back, once they get his money up on this contract that I got for 10 days, the only way you can get out of this contract is if my attorney say that we can't get clear title, or there's a judgment or a lien on this title and we can't close, then you can get your money back. But other than that, it's non-refundable. So that'll kind of like show you who's serious or not, because you don't want to just get to putting deals on the contract with people just because they say they want to buy it, because it might not be a real cash buyer. So you don't want to get them more than 10 days, just to answer the question.
Thank you.
Well, guys, I really have to say thank you so much for making it on the call tonight. As you can see, we have not even tapped into everything that William knows, and I cannot wait until we have him back on the call. I want to, for the last time tonight, thank our president, Mike Jacobson, and our executive director, Karen Yap. And I would really like to have William Galloway close us out, but I encourage you guys to really follow and look at his Facebook page. You're going to see more of him with upcoming events at GaREIA. We talked about a few things that you're going to see in the upcoming months at GaREIA, where William will be able to work with you and just help you to really get more in depth in your real estate investing, wholesaling especially. So again, just connect, come out to the REIA, come out to the general meeting. When you hear about the boot camp, which we have 2 a year, get involved in that. Everybody that comes to the boot camp, you get to meet the instructors, hang out with them, and just everything you need to do your transaction is at GaREIA. Every single thing you need is at GaREIA. And I just want to share that the president, the board of directors, executive director Karen Yap, myself, we have such a heart to see you succeed. We're actually even spending this weekend at National REIA connecting with all the other REIAs just to see, what's going on and what we can bring back to our community. So get involved. If you have questions, if you have, education you'd like to get that you're probably not seeing, or you don't understand who to connect with or how, we're here to make that happen. But I cannot thank William Galloway enough I really believe you guys have no clue that when you have to teach this information, the amount of time it takes to, even though he knows this with his eyes closed, it's different when you have to put it down and then teach it. So, again, look out, because he's going to be bringing a lot of things to the GaREIA community that's going to benefit everybody listening. So with that being said, I'm going to turn over the call to William, and he's going to close us out. Again, William, thank you so, so much. We really, really appreciate everything you shared. But go ahead and close us out, please.
Thank you so much, Wendy. First and foremost, I want to thank my Lord Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me the opportunity to be able to bless this call, to be able to be anointed, to be able to speak on this call, and just, like you say, just not coming from not even speaking to now just being able to speak to everybody. I'm just so overwhelmed and blessed to be able to have the opportunity to motivate and push people to the limit to be able to do this business. I want to thank Wendy Lovejoy for allowing me the opportunity as the marketing director to have the platform to be able to give this information. And also, like she spoke about earlier, just planning out more things for me in the future to be able to become an asset for you guys and everybody else who want to get into this business and learn this business. We're going to have a lot of things planned with the GaREIA that I'm going to be doing. Far as it's a lot going on we got planned, and I don't want to speak on it too soon, but you definitely want to be a part of this organization. It's a great organization. I'm so thankful to have the president, Mike Jacobson, as the president, and also Karen Yap being a part of it and giving me the opportunity to speak to you guys. Definitely, like I said earlier, you want to be a part of this organization because this is where I started from. This is how I got my foot in the door, just educate myself, coming out, networking with other investors, learning this business, just meeting the right people, being at the right places at the right time, networking, because this business is about networking. It's about who you know. It's about relationships, and you definitely want to be somewhere that's family-oriented like GaREIA to be able to be a part of something special, because this is a special organization, and you can hear it in my voice. So if you want to meet me, if you want to meet Wendy, if you just want to be a part of the organization, make sure you become a member. Make sure you come out. Come shake my hand. Come meet me. Like I said earlier, follow me on Facebook. My business is Big House Investors. You can even go on my website. You want to look at my website and see what my website looks like. It's WeBuyATLHouses.com. WeBuyATLHousesCash.com. That's my website you can go to. You can go to my Facebook page, Big House Investors, and you can also go to my YouTube channel, Will Galloway / Uncle Bill Buy Houses. So other than that, I'm just thankful for this call. I'm thankful that I was able to give this great information today, and hopefully that you can take action. And when you do come talk to me, I hope that you've gotten your first deal under your belt.
Well, guys, you heard it. And before we go, thank you so much, Anissa Reed, for being our host tonight. With everybody else, we look forward to meeting you at any one of the GaREIA events. Good night, everybody.